Before we dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us grow, reach more amazing learners like you, and keep bringing you fresh and fun content every week. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going strong. Hello, delightful language learners, and a very warm, welcoming embrace back to Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, your ever-curious companion on this journey through the colorful and sometimes quirky world of English idioms. It's absolutely wonderful to have you joining us again today for another episode filled with linguistic discoveries.
And I'm Jack, your resident idiom enthusiast and designated source of mildly amusing wordplay. I'm here to help unpack these fascinating phrases, explain their origins, and make sure you feel more comfortable using them in your own conversations. Consider me your enthusiastic guide through the idiomatic landscape. Always a real pleasure to be back here on Idiom Insights, sharing this learning experience with all of you.
It genuinely is a pleasure, Jack, to be back and ready to explore some more fantastic expressions alongside our dedicated listeners. And today's episode of Idiom Insights features a collection of really useful idioms that describe managing emotions, the spread of information or gossip, preserving your reputation, and how we describe things we think are truly wonderful and groundbreaking. These are all phrases you'll hear used very frequently by native English speakers across many different situations. And understanding them will definitely help you participate more fully in conversations and sound much more natural.
A truly varied and very practical selection indeed. These phrases cover moments of needing self-control, how news travels unofficially, the importance of saving face in social situations, and our highest praise for something new and exciting. And to give you a clear idea of what specific idioms we'll be dissecting, discussing, and illustrating in detail today on Idiom Insights, here are the 4 expressions we've lined up for you. We'll start with get a grip, which is often used to tell someone to calm down and take control of their emotions or a situation. Then we'll look at how rumors or unofficial information spread using hear it on the grapevine. Following that, we'll explore the importance of save face, meaning to protect one's reputation or avoid public embarrassment. And finally, we'll wrap up with the best thing since sliced bread, a wonderfully enthusiastic way to describe something you think is absolutely brilliant and useful.
That gives our listeners a clear and enticing preview of the idiomatic territory we'll be covering together over the next little while. 4 very different, but equally valuable expressions that are all firmly rooted in everyday English conversation.
They certainly are. And before we dive headfirst into explaining that first idiom and really get into the details of its meaning, origin, and how to use it effectively, we wanted to take a quick moment to connect with you, our fantastic audience. If you are finding these episodes of Idiom Insights genuinely helpful and enjoyable for your English learning journey, and if you appreciate the effort we put into creating these explanations and examples for you every time, please consider showing us your support by subscribing or following our podcast on whatever platform you are using right now. It's a simple action that makes a big difference to us.
Your subscription is a wonderful way to ensure you never miss a future episode packed with more useful idioms, clear explanations, and relatable examples that will help you improve your fluency and sound more like a native speaker. It also helps us reach more people around the world who are on a similar path of learning and mastering the nuances of English. And if you feel like going the extra mile and you have the option on your platform, leaving a like or a quick rating is also incredibly helpful and sincerely appreciated. It's a small but incredibly effective gesture that makes a big difference in helping others discover idiom insights and grow our lovely community of learners. Thank you so much in advance for your continued support. It genuinely means a lot to us and keeps us going.
All right, Emma, are you ready to try and get a grip on our first idiom?
I believe I am, Jack. Let's tackle those emotions and see how this phrase helps. Excellent. Our very first idiom for today on Idiom Insights, as we previewed, is get a grip.
Get a grip. This is a very common idiom used to tell someone to calm down, take control of their emotions, stop panicking, and deal with a situation in a more rational or effective way. It's often said to someone who is overreacting, becoming overly emotional, or losing control in a difficult or stressful moment.
That's a very clear explanation, Jack. The image behind it is simple and direct. It's like telling someone to physically get a grip on something stable, like a railing to steady themselves, or to get a mental grip on their thoughts and feelings to regain control. We use it when someone is letting their emotions get the better of them and needs to compose themselves and face the situation more calmly and practically.
Exactly. It's an informal, sometimes slightly impatient way to urge someone to regain their composure and deal with reality. If a friend is panicking about a small problem that you think is easily solvable, you might say, "Hey, it's not that bad. Just take a deep breath and get a grip. You can handle this if you just think clearly."
It can be used when someone is showing excessive worry, fear, anger, or frustration over something that doesn't warrant such a strong reaction, in your opinion. If someone is shouting furiously because they can't find their keys right before leaving, you might say, "Calm down. They're probably right where you left them. Get a grip and look properly."
While it means to take control of your emotions, it also implies taking control of the situation itself by thinking clearly instead of being ruled by panic or anger. It's about snapping out of an emotional state that is preventing you from dealing with the problem effectively.
The origin is quite straightforward, likely stemming from the literal idea of needing to physically grasp something firmly for stability or control, which was then extended metaphorically to mean mental or emotional stability and control. It's a very intuitive connection.
It's a powerful, direct idiom that cuts through excessive emotion and calls for a return to rationality and control. It's often used when someone's reaction is disproportionate to the actual problem, or when their emotional state is hindering their ability to function.
Let's hear how Mia and Mark use "get a grip" in their conversation. Someone is overreacting to a minor setback, and one of them offers some direct advice.
"Oh no, oh no, oh no, I can't believe this. This is a disaster. What are we going to do now? Everything is ruined."
Whoa, Mia, slow down for a second. Take a deep breath. What in the world is going on? You look completely panicked.
"My computer just crashed and I hadn't saved the document I was working on for the meeting. It's gone. Hours of work, completely gone. This is the worst thing ever. I don't have time to redo it all."
Okay, it's definitely frustrating. Losing unsaved work is the worst feeling. But let's not immediately assume it's all gone forever. Maybe the program has an autosave feature. You're clearly very upset right now, but you need to try and get a grip on your emotions for a moment.
Get a grip? How can I get a grip when all my work is lost? The meeting is in an hour.
I know, it feels awful right now, but panicking won't bring the document back. If you can just get a grip for a second, maybe restart the computer calmly, check the temporary files, there might be a way to recover some of it. Panicking won't help anything right now.
Okay, you're right. Panicking isn't helping. My heart is racing though. I'll try to get a grip. Let me just restart it calmly.
Good, that's the first step. Let's see if we can recover anything.
That's a very realistic scenario, and a clear use of the idiom. Mia was clearly panicking and very emotional after her computer crashed, and she thought she lost her work. Mark used "get a grip" repeatedly to tell her to calm down, control her panic, and approach the situation more rationally so she could try to find a solution instead of being overwhelmed by her emotions.
It perfectly captures how "get a grip" is used to urge someone to regain their composure in a stressful moment and think clearly. Mia's reaction, showing her distress, and Mark's calm insistence on her needing to "get a grip" make the example very relatable and highlight the idiom's function. It's about bringing someone back to a state where they can actually deal with the problem.
So, listeners, have you ever had to tell yourself or someone else to get a grip? Perhaps during a moment of stress, panic, or overreaction. Share your sentences using "get a grip" in the comments section below. This episode of Idiom Insights, tell us about a time when someone needed to calm down.
It's a very direct idiom for managing emotional responses. All right, let's move on to our second idiom, which is all about receiving information informally. Our second idiom today on Idiom Insights is "hear it on the grapevine."
Hear it on the grapevine. This idiom means to hear rumors or unofficial information from other people, often through informal channels of communication like gossip. You don't get the information directly from an official source, but rather through a series of conversations or word of mouth.
That's a very accurate description, Jack. The image is interesting. Think of a grapevine with its tangled branches spreading out in many directions. Information heard on the grapevine spreads in a similar, uncontrolled, and often indirect way, passing from person to person. The origin is often linked to early telegraph lines, which were sometimes strung between poles that looked a bit like grapevines, and also transmitted information quickly, but sometimes inaccurately, or even possibly from the way news and gossip spread informally among people like vines growing and intertwining.
Regardless of the exact origin, the key idea is information spreading informally from person to person, without any official confirmation. It implies that the information is potentially unreliable, inaccurate, or just gossip. If you say, "I heard on the grapevine that the company is planning to open a new branch," it means someone told you unofficially and you're not entirely sure if it's true or not yet. You haven't seen a formal announcement.
Exactly. It's the opposite of getting information directly from a reliable source, like a company memo, an official announcement, or a trusted authority. Information you hear on the grapevine is often rumors, speculation, or unverified news circulating through informal networks. I heard on the grapevine that Sarah is thinking of leaving the company, but I haven't spoken to her directly about it yet, so I don't know if it's true.
It's a very common phrase in workplace settings, where information often spreads through informal conversations between colleagues before any official announcement is made. I heard on the grapevine that we might be getting new computers next month. This means a colleague mentioned it, but it hasn't been confirmed by the IT department or management yet.
The idiom clearly signals that the information received is unofficial and should perhaps be treated with a degree of caution because its accuracy hasn't been verified. It's grapevine information. It's spreading, but it might be twisted or incorrect by the time it reaches you.
It perfectly conveys that sense of information traveling through unofficial word-of-mouth channels. It's how rumors often start and spread.
Let's hear how Mia and Mark use "hear it on the grapevine" in their conversation. They're discussing some news they heard informally about the company.
Hey, Mark, have you heard anything about the company expanding into a new market overseas next year? Someone mentioned something to me the other day.
Oh, interesting, Mia. I haven't seen any official announcement or anything in the company newsletter yet about that.
No, neither have I. That's why I was asking. I actually heard it on the grapevine yesterday afternoon when I was chatting with someone from a different department during the coffee break.
You heard it on the grapevine? Ah, okay, so it's not official news yet, just something you heard informally through colleagues? What exactly did you hear?
Yeah, exactly. Just unofficial talk. I heard that the senior management had meetings last week to discuss potentially opening an office in Asia sometime in the next year or two, but that's all I know, just what I heard through someone else.
That's interesting news, even if it's just grapevine information for now. It could be true, but like you said, we can't be sure until there's a formal announcement. Information heard on the grapevine can sometimes be inaccurate.
Very true. We'll have to wait and see if anything official comes out, but it got me thinking.
That's a great example of how information spreads informally. Mia clearly states she heard it on the grapevine, immediately signaling to Mark that the news about the potential company expansion is unofficial and came through informal channels, a colleague during a coffee break, rather than a formal source. Their discussion acknowledges the potential unreliability of information heard this way.
It perfectly illustrates that "hear it on the grapevine" is used when you get information through unofficial means, like gossip or rumors circulating among people. It highlights that the source is indirect and the information may not be fully verified.
So, listeners, have you ever heard it on the grapevine? Perhaps some news about your workplace, friends, or community that wasn't officially announced? Share your sentences using "hear it on the grapevine" in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. Tell us about some unofficial news you received.
It's a very common idiom for discussing how rumors spread. All right, let's move on to our third idiom for today. This one is about protecting your reputation. Our third idiom on Idiom Insights is save face.
Save face. This idiom means to maintain your reputation, avoid embarrassment, or protect your dignity, especially after you've made a mistake, failed, or been in a difficult or awkward situation. It's about doing something to prevent yourself from looking bad in front of others or losing their respect.
That's a very precise definition, Jack. The origin of this idiom is particularly interesting. It comes from Chinese culture and language, where the concept of face, mianzi, is extremely important. Face represents a person's dignity, prestige, and social standing within their community. To lose face is to be publicly embarrassed or humiliated, damaging your reputation, while to save face is to act in a way that preserves or restores your dignity and reputation, often after a potential embarrassment.
Exactly. So in English, Save face is used when someone takes action specifically to avoid looking foolish, incompetent, or wrong in the eyes of others, or to minimize the damage to their reputation after a mistake. If a politician makes a controversial statement and then slightly changes their position or offers an explanation that makes it seem less extreme, they might be doing so to save face after receiving public criticism. They are trying to avoid looking completely wrong or out of touch.
It implies a conscious effort to manage perception and protect one's public image. If a company makes a major error, like releasing a faulty product, they might issue a public apology and offer refunds or free repairs. While this is the right thing to do for customers, it also serves to save face for the company by showing they are taking responsibility and trying to rectify the situation, thereby minimizing the damage to their reputation and credibility.
It's often used when someone has been proven wrong or when a plan has failed, and they need a way to retreat or change direction without looking completely defeated or foolish. Offering someone a lower position in the company instead of firing them outright might be done to allow that person to save face and leave with some dignity, rather than being publicly dismissed for poor performance.
The phrase clearly emphasizes the social aspect. It's about how you are perceived by others. Saving face is about managing that external perception to maintain respect and authority. It's a strategic action to mitigate reputational damage.
It perfectly conveys that idea of protecting your dignity and reputation, especially in the face of potential embarrassment or failure.
Let's hear how Mia and Mark use save face in their conversation. They're talking about someone taking action to avoid looking bad after a mistake.
Did you hear about what happened with the manager, Mr. Harrison, in the meeting with the international clients yesterday?
Oh no, I didn't hear anything specific, Mia. What happened? Did something go wrong during that important meeting?
Well, he was presenting some key figures, and he accidentally presented completely outdated data that was wrong. The clients immediately noticed and pointed out the error in front of everyone. It was pretty awkward and clearly embarrassing for him.
Oh dear, that sounds incredibly awkward and like a potentially big problem during such an important meeting. How did he handle that difficult situation?
He paused for a second, and I think he was pretty embarrassed because his face went a bit red. But then he quickly acknowledged the mistake, apologized sincerely to the clients for the error, and promised to get them the absolutely correct, updated figures within the hour.
Ah, okay. So he admitted the mistake directly and promised to fix it immediately? That sounds like he handled it quite professionally, actually.
He did. By quickly owning up to the mistake and immediately offering to provide the right information, he managed to save face. Instead of trying to deny it or make excuses, which would have made him look worse, he took responsibility and recovered his dignity in the moment. It minimized the embarrassment considerably.
Yeah, that was probably the best way to handle it and save face in that situation. Trying to pretend he was right would have been much worse.
That's a fantastic and very clear example of saving face. Mr. Harrison made an embarrassing mistake, presenting wrong data in front of important clients. By quickly admitting the error, apologizing, and promising a swift correction, he took action to save face, to protect his reputation and dignity in a potentially humiliating situation. Mia and Mark's analysis of his actions makes the idiom's meaning very clear.
It perfectly illustrates how acknowledging a mistake and taking corrective action is often the best way to minimize embarrassment and maintain respect. Mr. Harrison's actions allowed him to save face despite his error.
So, listeners, have you ever witnessed or taken steps to save face? Perhaps after a mistake or in an awkward situation? Share your sentences using save face in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. Tell us about a time when someone protected their reputation.
It's a very useful idiom for discussing reputation management and dignity. And now, for our fourth and final idiom for today's episode of Idiom Insights. This one is all about expressing strong admiration. Our fourth and final idiom is the best thing since sliced bread.
The best thing since sliced bread. This is a wonderfully enthusiastic and very common idiom, used to describe something that you think is absolutely excellent, incredibly useful, highly innovative, just genuinely wonderful and makes life significantly better or easier. It's a strong expression of praise and admiration for something new or improved.
That's a perfect explanation, Jack, full of appropriate enthusiasm. The idiom uses sliced bread as a benchmark because, historically, the invention of pre-sliced bread in the early 20th century was a genuinely significant convenience for households. Before that, people had to slice all their bread manually, So, it was seen as a simple but revolutionary invention that made a common task much easier. Therefore, calling something the best thing since sliced bread is high praise indeed. It means you think it's one of the most useful or brilliant innovations or ideas that has come along in a long time, perhaps since that original simple convenience of sliced bread.
Exactly. It's hyperbolic praise, meaning you think something is incredibly good and has made a significant positive impact, at least in your own experience. If someone shows you a new app on your phone that solves a problem you've always had, you might look at them in amazement and say, "Wow, this app is amazing. It's the best thing since sliced bread." You're expressing how incredibly useful and wonderful you think it is.
It can be used for anything you genuinely admire for its usefulness, convenience, or brilliance. A new gadget, a clever idea, a new service, or even just a really smart solution to a problem. This new coffee machine at the office, it makes perfect coffee in seconds and cleans itself. It's honestly the best thing since sliced bread. You are saying it's an exceptionally good and convenient machine.
The phrase itself is packed with enthusiasm and high regard. It's not just good, it's revolutionary, incredibly useful, and significantly better than what came before. It reflects a strong positive opinion.
The origin, tied to the actual historical impact of sliced bread as a convenience item, makes the idiom very relatable and gives context to the strength of the praise. It sets a high bar for what is considered truly excellent and beneficial.
It perfectly conveys that sense of enthusiastic admiration for something you see as genuinely groundbreaking or incredibly useful.
Let's hear how Mia and Mark use the best thing since sliced bread in their conversation. They're talking about a new tool or service that has made a big positive difference for them.
Mark, I have to tell you about this new project management software we started using in my team this week. It's honestly been a total game changer already.
Oh yeah? The one they introduced company-wide last month? I haven't really had a chance to explore it properly yet in my own team. What makes it so good?
You have no idea, Mark. Before, we were trying to track tasks and deadlines using confusing spreadsheets and endless email chains. It was a complete mess, and things were constantly getting lost or forgotten.
That sounds incredibly inefficient and stressful, Mia. I can definitely imagine how difficult that was to manage.
It really was, but this new software, it organizes everything so clearly. You can assign tasks easily, set reminders, share files, see everyone's progress at a glance. It just makes everything so much more streamlined and transparent for the whole team. It's effortless now compared to how we used to work.
Wow, that does sound incredibly helpful and like a huge improvement. So it's making your work life a lot easier and more organized then?
Absolutely. It's honestly the best thing since sliced bread for managing our projects. I don't know how we ever managed without it before. It's genuinely revolutionized how my team works together.
That's high praise indeed. Sounds like I need to start using it properly too.
That's a brilliant and very enthusiastic use of the idiom. Mia is genuinely impressed and positively impacted by the new project management software. She uses the best thing since sliced bread to express how incredibly useful, effective, and beneficial it is, making her team's work significantly easier and better compared to their old method. Her detailed description of the improvements makes the strength of her praise very clear.
It perfectly illustrates how the idiom is used to describe something seen as highly innovative, useful, and making a significant positive difference. For Mia, the new software is indeed the best thing since sliced bread, representing a major improvement in her work life.
So, listeners, what do you think is the best thing since sliced bread? Perhaps a new gadget, an app, a piece of advice, or a recent invention that you find incredibly useful or wonderful? Share your sentences using the best thing since sliced bread in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. Tell us about something you absolutely love.
It's a fun idiom for expressing enthusiastic praise. And that brings us to the end of our 4 idioms for today on Idiom Insights. We've explored managing emotions, how unofficial information spreads, protecting one's reputation, and expressing high praise for something wonderful.
We have certainly covered a diverse and very useful set of phrases today. In this episode of Idiom Insights, we learned that telling someone to calm down and take control is to say, get a grip. We learned that hearing unofficial news or rumors is to hear it on the grapevine. We discovered that actions taken to protect one's dignity or reputation are meant to save face. And finally, we talked about calling something wonderful and innovative the best thing since sliced bread.
These are all excellent idioms that are used frequently by native English speakers in a wide variety of contexts. Adding them to your vocabulary will make your English sound much more natural, fluid, and expressive. So please don't hesitate to start using them. Try practicing them aloud, writing them in sentences, or even using them in a conversation if you have the opportunity. Consistent practice is the most effective way to truly master these phrases and make them your own.
Absolutely. Give them a try in your practice sessions. And if you enjoyed this episode of Idiom Insights and found it helpful for your English learning journey today, please remember to show us your support and help us reach more learners by giving us a like and considering leaving a quick rating on your podcast platform. Your positive feedback is incredibly motivating for us and helps new listeners discover our show.
It truly does. And to make absolutely sure you don't miss out on any future episodes where we'll explore even more fascinating and useful English idioms, please be sure to subscribe or follow Idiom Insights wherever you are listening right now. Join our growing and enthusiastic community of idiom explorers.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today and for being a dedicated part of the Idiom Insights audience. We genuinely appreciate your commitment to learning English and hope you found our episode both insightful and enjoyable.
It truly was a pleasure. Keep practicing, keep exploring the wonderful nuances of the English language, and we'll be back soon with more Idiom Insights.
Until next time, keep learning, keep smiling, and enjoy discovering the best things since sliced bread. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.